Manipur continues to be on edge with reports of fresh violence in the border town of More. I'm Barkha Dutt, here with the Mojo story. Our continued focus on the northeastern state continues, even as the situation internally in the state remains worrying and fragile. Politics has consumed the conversation around Manipur. The opposition has moved a no confidence motion against the Modi government. The Lok Sabha Speaker has accepted this motion. Of course, the Modi government is very comfortable when it comes to numbers inside parliament. The opposition wants the prime minister to speak on Manipur inside the house. The prime minister has already spoken on the horrific viral video in which we saw two young women stripped to the bone and paraded naked. One of them was brutally gang raped. Now, we have also been documenting other cases that are only now emerging, incidents that took place earlier, but the human tragedy of which, whether it's torture or it's rape or it's death or it's murder, and this is happening, of course, in both communities. The question that is being asked, of course, is whether president's rule is now inevitable, or will the Modi government continue to support the government of Chief Minister Biren Singh. In the midst of all this, one of the stories we have also done is to focus on the very tragic story of a BJP MLA crippled as a mob attacked him. In fact, his family says he was administered electric shocks. We're talking, of course, about Vungzag in Valte. His family has said that after he was discharged from hospital and even through hospital, there was no assistance from the Biren Singh government. 2 days after we did this story, we have now got the first denial from the state government that has actually released bills to say that actually it was the state government that organized the airlifting of this MLA. The family continues to say that yes, the airlift did take place, but after the hospital discharge, there's been very little help. Mr. Valte is one individual. There are many people who are suffering, and there's a lot to talk about with our newsmaker today. Let's introduce him on the program now. Rajat Sethi is with us. Mr. Sethi has been an advisor to the Chief Minister of Manipur. He is also the co-author of a book on the Northeast. He's spent a lot of time in the Northeast and is one of India's best-known experts on the region. Thank you very much, Rajat. Let me actually start, and we'll come to the big picture, but I want to start with the report that we have done on the BJP MLA Vungzag in Valte, somebody I know you have known quite well personally as well in your time that you have spent working in Manipur. Now, of course, the images are horrible. What happened to Mr. Valte is horrible. But Mr. Valte's family made an allegation, and the allegation that they made to us and to other channels was that there was no assistance that was forthcoming once Mr. Valte was airlifted. They are not denying, of course, that the airlift was organized by the state government. Now, while these images are very disturbing, I want you to come in on that. We also do have the documents that have now been released by BJP leaders, which show, and we can please bring those documents up. There they are, the cost of the airlift, which is close to 50 lakhs. But the human tragedy remains in focus, and the family continues to feel what they call abandoned. I want you to respond to this particular report that we and others have done.
Well, Barkha ji, at the outset, let me share with your viewers that when I was serving as the advisor to the Chief Minister, Pu Walte, he was somebody I had looked up to. He was one of the senior leaders coming in from the Kuki community, from Churachandpur. And I have personally spent endless hours just understanding the complexity of Churachandpur, the politics there, the insurgency movements there, all of that. And he's been almost like a teacher to me, helping me understand about the geography and the landscape. However, he has been through absolute hell. There is no denying that. What he's going through, may God, give him absolutely fast recovery. But at times, when there is an an ethnic clash of this magnitude, a lot of things get obliterated. A lot of facts go missing. What I have learned, because ever since he was airlifted and the way he was attacked, I inquired a lot out of just sheer curiosity. There was a cabinet meeting organized at the CM's bungalow. Among that cabinet meeting, there were other Kuki leaders also present. And there was an indication from the security establishment that please don't allow the cookie leaders to go and leave the CM bungalow at that time. There were other cookie leader, Nemcha madam, who was also a cabinet minister. She stayed back, but then unfortunately Valteji left and he went in far away into an unsecured area, and he was attacked by a mob. Um, Once the attack happened, he was immediately shifted to one of the local hospitals in Manipur, and thereafter he was, realizing his condition is not improving, he was immediately airlifted in the midst of an absolute mayhem on the streets of Imphal. He was airlifted, and as soon as he landed, as in the pictures, as you can see, is the OSD to the Chief Minister of Manipur, Dr. Vikrant. He's also incidentally one of the doctors at Apollo Hospital. He takes care of a lot of Manipur cancer patients who come to Delhi. He was at the airport
So
ready
he
with
is both, just to understand this, he's both a doctor and an OSD in the Manipur government?
a consultant, a visiting consultant at Apollo, but he's serving as an OSD, a medical health expert OSD to the Chief Minister of Manipur. He was waiting along with a representative from the Manipur government, who's a cabinet minister of education. He was present along with the BJP state president. She was also present over there to receive him and take him, ferry him to Apollo Hospital immediately. Throughout every single day when he was at Apollo, the concerned government official was there with him through and through. After the discharge happened, there were two options before Valteji. He could have either gone to the Manipur Bhavan, but looking at his condition, I suppose the family realized that it is better off that if he's taken to his family and he can get a better care over there. But through this period of a hospital stay, etc., all the bills are going to be eventually submitted and get covered. That's the usual procedure of any state government employee, or in this case, he's a very senior member of Legislative Assembly. All these medical bills, on usual, will be covered by the Assembly's funds eventually once the
Can
bills.
I clarify what you just said? Because that's an important point that you're making. Because when we were asking the family, they said so far, the hospital bills have been paid by them. You are saying these bills will be covered by the state government.
Barkha ji,
Can we
it's not.
unmute? Yeah.
So this is not something which is a special case scenario here. I mean, usually all bills of all legislative assembly members gets covered by the assembly. If there is somebody who is a member of the state cabinet or something like that, they'll be covered by the state government. These are the usual norms. I think let the dust settle, these bills would be submitted, and that's how it will get eventually processed. I don't see, a lot of hue and cry was made that there was no assistance whatsoever. This is what I principally disagree with, because there are facts to oppose it. The charter was arranged, though the state government was completely obsessed with handling the violence on the streets, but still it was made, a point was made that he gets the best treatment possible, and he was airlifted to Delhi. And at Apollo, he was given all the medical care that was required, and every day he was visited by a representative of the state government. These are the facts which cannot be refuted.
Okay, I'm very glad to hear these facts. But when you say a hue and cry was created about Mr. Valte, I assure you that we reported what the family said, and why do you think the family feels this way? That's what I want to understand here. Of course, Mr. Valte himself can't speak because of his paralysis, but Mr. Valte's wife Moinu and his son Joseph, they say that they've spent about close to 50 lakhs, because of course after the discharge also, Rajat, as you know, there are medical bills and so on. I know some BJP leaders have also said that a few lakhs was also given as in monetary compensation. We did try and ask the family this. The family says that they got this through a doctor. They don't, in their understanding, they have not yet got any money from the state government, but they've applied, they say, for reimbursement, which you also just mentioned. I want to understand from you, why is this? One of the senior most leaders of the state, he's also been an advisor to the chief minister like you. Why is his family feeling like this? I mean, as a journalist, I'm only reporting what they're saying to me. So why are they feeling like this? And we did try, before we got to talk to you, we called several MLAs in Manipur after this report, and we were not able to get them to give us a response on this story. Otherwise, we would have definitely accommodated it. Why do you think they're feeling like this?
Well, I can empathize. I mean, they're not going through a normal situation. Pu Walte is in a condition where we can all pray for his swift recovery. But he looks completely shattered and broken down himself, what he has gone through. I mean, such a senior leader, being attacked by a mob so ruthlessly. I believe the entire shock of the event that unfolded on the 5th of May has still jolted the family. And I am all with them, barring the technicalities, those could be put aside. But let me tell you, right from the chief minister, I've had a discussion with him also earlier when Puwalte was attacked. And every single cabinet minister there, all senior erstwhile leaders also across party line. I mean, everybody is deeply empathetic and deeply shocked as to what happened. It is just that every single leader is right now handling their own constituency. Every constituency still has mobs paying for revenge, ensuring that justice is being delivered. There is still violence on the streets. It is these political leaders who have to go out on the streets and calm the people who still believe justice is missing from maybe the Cookie side or the Meitei side. Everybody is still feeling that the justice hasn't been delivered yet, and it is these political leaders. It's very easy to blame them, but it's hard to be a politician at the end of the day. They are on the street handling people, ensuring that no emotive response comes in and snowballs into yet another controversy. I think once all of this settles down, Valteji and the respect that he carries in the top echelons of Manipur society will be there. He is still respected and will continue to get that respect. I think this is just a very, very bad time that Manipur hasn't seen in several years. So I think just keep that thought in mind, that this is not the normal times. And any story that we pull out of that context might seem very odd, but putting things back into the context of Manipur, you would see that things are not good, and this is
I'm
just
very,
one that should be seen in the context.
and we'll certainly convey what you have said to the family. I'm sure they'll also be relieved to hear it. We're also relieved to hear that the hospital bills will also be, as a matter of course, which is what you're clarifying, be footed by the state government. Let's zoom out now, Rajat, if that's okay with you, and to look at the larger situation in the state, right? Now, politics are being played. The BJP and the opposition are hammer and tongs at each other. The BJP says, the Home Minister has said in Parliament, we are ready for a debate. The opposition is adamant about the Prime Minister being in the House. Now it's resulted in a no confidence motion, and we've seen the sort of political sloganeering or rhetoric on either side. Leave the politics for a moment. As someone who has spent time in Manipur, who has worked in Manipur, I want your understanding of what could diffuse the crisis. Let's talk about that. Let's have a productive conversation. What can be the small or the big step to diffuse or begin the process of diffusing this crisis?
Well, this is what I wanted to highlight in the conversation, that a lot of technicalities which go into resolving this, where you have professional negotiators negotiating this situation, this impasse, is already happening. There are several closed door discussions happening with civil society leaders, with the insurgent leaders, with who are being ferried from Manipur repeatedly to Delhi to have those conversations. Every small inch of land is being of argumentation, of demands, is being gradually looked into. Everybody's position is pretty stiffened at this point, because they believe they are representing the community and they can't be seen budging from the core demands of each of the sides. But still, sense is being instilled in them. A broader picture, a bigger picture is being discussed. By the way, right from the intelligence side to people who have been interlocutors, to people who have served earlier as the interlocutors, are round the clock discussing with each of the community representatives that is out here. I know for sure, I have myself been part of a few such deliberations here in New Delhi, and I can tell you that honest efforts are being put in to at least find a small runway for peace. Thereby, once the tempers are down, you can have a more reasoned discussions with both the sides. And this problem is so protracted, and by now largely all people interested in that subject know and understand that this is not the first sort of this deep ethnic clash that has happened. There have been at least 5 6 very, very big ethnic clashes which has happened in the state. It's, by the way, not a Hindu Christian clash, because by putting those frames, international community has belittled the crisis. They have shown their grotesque understanding of the crisis. Nobody is attacking anybody in the name of a Hindu god or a Christian god. Therefore, this is not a persecution issue. I can go on and give you so many examples that in the past 4 or 5 ethnic clashes that have happened, in no scenario has there been a religious prism to the whole thing. Cookies and Paites have fought. Cookies have also gone against the ultra micro minorities, the Gorkhas. Kangkokpi had significant population of Gorkhas, but they were attacked by Cookies. There was huge clashes between them and the Kuki community in the past. Cookies and the Nagas have had a clash. Both are Christian communities. Today, Naga as a community is not party to this ethnic clash. They are also Christians. So how does
And
this
and
Christian
and and, they, and they're 24% of Manipur. The Naga groups are
Exactly. So
24%
therefore,
of Manipur.
these religious lenses is a very, sort of a lazy understanding of what is happening over there, and therefore I don't give any weightage to people who are trying to sit in European Parliament or United Nations trying to do a judgment scenario here.
Can I ask you a question though on this? There was this horrible report, and we have the image of that child, of a 7-year-old boy. One of the many human tragedies in Manipur. And as I said, there have been tragedies in both communities. Can we just take the banner off? He was burnt alive with his mother in an ambulance. Now, his case really stayed with me, Rajat, because he was half Kuki, he was half Methi. His mother was Methi. She was also killed along with him. The father was Kuki. Now, what the Kuki groups, and I'm asking this as a follow up to what you said. What some of the Kuki groups said was that the mother, though she was Methi, was targeted because she was a Methi Christian. It's important now for our audience to understand that Kukis are mostly Christian, but not exclusively so. Methis are mostly Hindu, but not exclusively so. So, when people see, tragedies like this, I think they begin to see it through a religious prism. When you say this is not a Hindu Christian conflict, can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
See, when there is a religious conflict, the conflict's core cause is that you worship a specific god, and you believe in a religious system which I abhor and I don't believe in, and that's the principal cause of violence on the streets. That's not the case here. As I've told you repeatedly, there are Meitei Christians who practice in Meitei churches. Those churches have been attacked by the cookies. One big attack that happened, that where 9 Meitei villagers were also attacked, was inside the church by the cookie militants. So those things are there, and in this scenario, in this in this lady and the child who was attacked in an ambulance, uh, it is one of the most gruesome killings that has happened in Imphal. But over here, a Meitei community, when they were attacking, they thought that she's almost an outcast. She has gone to the other community. Understand that all these three communities, though are different, they have been pretty conservative. They have not had marriages cutting across different communities. That intermingling hasn't happened, and she was seen as somebody who left the Meitei practices and joined the Kuki community, and eventually she was seen from those lenses, however unfortunate that may be. But I don't see she was, in the impassioned mob that was there. She was seen again from a Christian lenses, that she's practicing and she believes in Jesus, and all of that is the reason why she's being attacked. She was attacked because she left the community and joined the cookie community, and that's
I,
it.
I take on board what you explain about the complexity, the history of these clashes. Now, here's my one other disturbing dimension of this crisis is women. What's happening to women? We have an 80-year-old woman burnt alive. She's from the Meitei community. You have the women on the viral video that the Prime Minister and the Chief Justice commented on. They're from the Kuki community. So grief is not a competition. You can find very disturbing sort of dimensions of what's happening in both communities. But we are also getting reports documenting more instances of sexual violence, where women's bodies have been used as a battlefield. And one of the things the former Director General of the Assam Rifles said to me, Director General Shaukin Chauhan, he said, I've never seen this happen in the Northeast. Women have such a different position in the Northeast. How is this happening? We must ask ourselves, how is this happening to women? So how do you tackle that question?
See, I don't see this being an outlier community from that perspective. I mean, women and their bodies have been used for political, what's the right word, and
Have
for
been
political.
weaponized, have been
Oh yeah,
weaponized in conflict
exactly.
from partition downwards, if
Correct.
I
So
think
I
about
don't
it.
see, any community anywhere in the world being an outlier to that. So in this particular scenario, there was a buildup of anxiety from all communities. Nagas are under talks with the government of India. There was this anxiety among the Meiteis that Naga Accord is going to be finalized and signed any moment. And they were like, what will we do if our points are not being considered in that unilateral agreement between government of India on one side and the NSC and I'm on the other side? Similarly, an anxiety was there among the Meiteis that what if there is a resolution on the Sioux arrangement between Cookies on one side and the government of India on the other side. Among this pent up anxiety on all sides, this rumor on the 3rd of May erupted that a few Meitei women have been raped and murdered in Churachandpur, which is largely a Kuki dominated area. And that spread like wildfire. A
And
lot
it
of
was fake,
commentators.
and it was a rumor, it was fake news,
Well,
basically.
there are still some, this requires deeper investigation. There were initial reports that these are genuine. In fact, zero FIRs were filed even in those rape cases. Again, I am not privy to the exact details whether those rapes happened or not happened. But this rumor, I'm still calling it a rumor, this rumor spread like wildfire. And when commentators in Delhi say that, oh, why are you shutting down the internet and all, they don't realize that, there is absolutely no other mechanism that any other state government at that moment has other than shutting the internet down to avoid such rumor mongering. Let us call it that this was a rumor and that spread through the Imphal Valley like anything. And
Yeah.
that evening, the night, and the next day saw the maximum violence. The mob was berserk, nobody to control them. There were no safety valve mechanisms which were in action. For 5 years, when I was the advisor, I could observe both from the Meitei side and Kuki side, there were several layers of civil society. Chura Chandpur, we used to, joke that Chura Chandpur is a city of presidents, because there were just so many small communities, and each one of them was a president of one community or the other. So layers of civil society which used to act as that safety valve, that anything erupts, these civil society members get activated and absolve the tension in the community. But this time everything tore apart, and this one rumor spread like anything, and all the mayhem that was there on the 4th and the 5th of May, these 2-3 days, saw the absolute worst of mankind can show to each other. And,
Yeah.
and unspeakable violence happened. But I would say another very important thing is that these are not ongoing events. All 80 to 90% of the cases that we are discussing today
Are
happened in
emerging are emerging on in the aftermath.
but they all were localized around 2 to 3 days post, the Chura Chandpur eviction. Just those days. After
But
that, it has largely been on the foothills where Kuki militants as well as the Meitei villagers who are armed. They have built bunkers, and all the gunshots that you're hearing still in Manipur are still only in those areas where the boundary, so-called boundary, is being defended. That here the hills start, and therefore it is the boundary where no Meitei will be allowed to cross over, and from here the valley starts, and we won't allow any Kuki to cross
this
over.
was going
So
to be
all
my
these people
question.
are manning,
Sorry,
yeah.
I'm interrupting you because it's related to what you're saying. This was going to be my question, that while you're right that the peak of the violence took place, let's say on the 4th, 5th, 6th, thereabouts, you now have weapons in circulation. There hasn't been a complete disarming. You have the army that has to patrol these so-called buffer zones where the Meitei neighborhoods end and the Kuki hills begin. And you have the army arguing that, though they've not officially said so, but military veterans are arguing that you now need to bring back AFSPA, the Armed Forces Special Powers Act, into pockets, because otherwise they have to bring out judicial magistrates every time they're deployed. Is that a matter of concern?
Well, going back into the AFSPA days is something that I cannot comment on. That would be a regressive step because, net, the Northeast has moved out of AFSPA. We would not want to see that regime come back so soon. Arms is a concern, but more than that, having a peace roadmap is important. Today, Meiteis have stolen arms, they've snatched it from the police or were handed over by the police. I don't know the facts. There's an inquiry commission for that. But then the Kuki community has equal number of sophisticated arms. They also got it from across the border. They did not snatch it from the police. So they got it from somewhere else. Who is ensuring that there is no cross-border supply of these sophisticated weapons into India? Those can at least be protected. Number one, those borders have to be protected by a professional force. Simultaneously, every weapon that was looted from the police or handed over by the police should be, there has to be operations to comb out such weapons and collect it back. But in order to do that, you need to ensure those bunkers all around the periphery of the valley area was still existing, both by the Kuki side and few by the Meitei sides as well, have to be first destroyed so that these people wielding weapons don't find a shelter to wield it.
You've made a very grave allegation of, I mean, and you of course speak from more knowledge than certainly I have in Delhi. You said that the cookies have not looted the armories. The cookies, the weapons that have come to the cookies, you think have come from across the border in Myanmar. I want to link another question here. The cookie people we've been speaking to say one of the reasons we need a separate, either an administration or a chamber within the assembly, as has been suggested by others, is because we're still seen as outsiders. There may be those who come in illegally, but there are those of us who are Indian citizens. We've served in the Indian military, as by the way is the husband of one of the sexual abuse survivors on that video, which you know about. He's an army veteran. He's a cookie. So this problem of, they say, of looking at the cookies as outsiders, what would you say to that?
Well, that is 100% true what you said. I mean, I would say that illegal migration is certainly a problem, but not every cookie is an outsider. I mean, they've been here for the past several centuries, if nothing less than that, and they need to be, accounted for as genuine citizens of this country and of the state. Having said that, there are certain concerns among the state government that of late, over the past 2 years, more especially once the junta rule came into Myanmar, there was persecution on the Chin community more specifically, and there was mass exodus from Chin community and the Chin state and the Sagaing state into Mizoram and into Manipur. The UN Refugee Commission has issued public numbers. Those reports are in public domain. And they say that an official number of 54,000 illegal migrants have crossed over into India. That's a UN report with who have their people on the ground documenting this. Alongside, these are official numbers, and there will be a horde of unofficial numbers who have also come in. And there are reasons why people are crossing over because of perverse incentives. You cross over, you join in as a tribal community, you get the ST status, you can get an Aadhaar number, you can immediately apply for a passport and become a bona fide Indian citizen and enjoy the reservation facilities that you get because of being a member of the ST community. Though you were a persecuted member of the Chin community across the border, but once you cross over, you get all of these benefits. Therefore, there has been perverse incentives which has lured illegal migration into the state of Manipur and Mizoram. We do not have a refugee policy, so all of them are deemed illegal migrants, period. The same
Let
was the crisis that happened even in Assam. Assam burned for decades because of illegal migration issue. Tripura burned. The first insurgency movement was in Tripura, again on illegal migration issue. So you cannot remove the sense of insecurity the indigenous people feel around the migration question. It cannot be, sidelined as one of the peripheral questions. It just, layer over layer, this insecurity adds on and it just sees an expression one day. So if you have to solve this crisis, having a permanent stoppage on illegal migration, weapons crossing border, all of this has to stop. This is why I said maybe the government of India back in those days around Kargil time had a policy, had a framework to look at manning the entire borders through one force, something like ITBP. So Assam Rifles could possibly, this was one of the written proposals which was being discussed, that Assam Rifles focus should be counterinsurgency and the borders should be given to a professional border management force. So those questions, those very important questions has to be thought through. It's not an easy thing. Navigating the Indian bureaucracies and the bureaucracies of the military forces also isn't easy. Who is going to
Yeah.
do that? These are the important things nobody in the country is discussing. Even the opposition party, you look, nobody has tears, genuine tears in their hearts and minds for Manipur. They're all trying to do a political positioning. Otherwise, when outside the parliament and all party meeting was there, none of the tall leaders went there. There was no Kharge, there was no Rahul Gandhi, there was no Sonia Gandhi, there was no Mamta Banerjee, there was no Akhilesh Yadav, there was no Uddhav Thackeray. None of these top leaders had the time to actually
Uh,
do sensitive understanding of that position and come out with a white paper that this is what we think should be the solution of it. All they
Yeah.
want to do is a political posturing around it, and that is unfortunate.
I personally believe an all-party delegation must visit Manipur. That would be a start to say that,
But
be
not for
united. No,
not for
no,
photographs.
no, no.
Ask all of them to keep their cameras aside. Go there
I
with a
agree.
genuine intent to solve the
Agreed.
problem. Then we will
Agreed.
see the solution coming
I
out.
agree with you on this point, definitely. I want to ask a last question because we're out of time. Looking ahead, there's been a lot of debate over whether president's rule is the solution. The reason this has been raised is because so many units of administration have been split along ethnic lines. You've had the Director General of Police's house attacked. You've had the House of Ministers attacked, state ministers attacked. You've had MLAs attacked. We've seen all of this, right? Now, quickly, if you want a concluding thought on this, do we need president's rule? Is that the answer? Is status quo politically the answer? Where do you weigh in on that question?
Well, it's certainly in the realm of one of the possible solutions to come out of this crisis. But do we also foresee a scenario wherein every time a crisis of this sort happens, you first attack the political establishment because this is the easiest thing to do. The bureaucrats and the intelligence community and all of that remain intact because their jobs are permanent, protected by Article 311. I mean, who else do you need to identify who was at fault in this crisis? Number one. Number two, this is not the first time an ethnic clash of this magnitude has happened. Just a few years back, we saw the Nagas and the Meiteis fighting over the MLR Act, and Ibobi was the chief minister. He couldn't land his chopper inside the Naga districts of Ukhrul. And there was 150-day blockade. The entire machinery was collapsed. Was that the optimal time to put up a president rules and remove the Bobi government? Because then the entire media and the opposition would have been up in arms in 2017 that you are targeting an opposition leader. He is a well-elected, democratically elected leader, and you are trying to remove him for 150 days. I was living in Manipur during that time, and it was complete mayhem on the streets again because two highways were choked. There were blockades over there. There was no food, no ration, no petrol, nothing for 150 days. Medicines had to be airdropped into the state of Manipur. All I'm saying that attacking a political class, you can do that at the right time. Please do it. But please find deep solutions to this problem. It is not a simple crisis that you can think from a very homogeneous understanding of India. This understanding of a state of Manipur and the crisis it requires understanding on ethnic clashes, a deep expertise. Normal negotiators can't handle this situation. You need professional negotiators who can actually deep dive and understand and find solutions which are creative without expanding the space for negotiations and win-win scenarios for both the sides. You cannot solve this crisis. That requires thinking.
Thank you, Rajat. You've certainly made us think today, a lot to think about there. And I'm glad we've been able to have a calm, reasoned conversation about this. I'm sure there'll be lots of reactions coming in. I can already see tons of comments in our live stream. Thank you very much. We'll have you back as we closely monitor the situation in Manipur. Thank you also for the clarifications and assurances on the BJP MLA Vungzagin Walte. We'll be sure to convey that to his family and put that out into the public domain as well. Thank you very much, Rajat Sethi.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.